Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Supervisor Bailey.
Good
Good
to see you.
evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Smith.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Good to hear your voice.
Oh, it's good to be heard, ma'am.
Oh, God. I owe you a call. I promise I will.
I owe you a visit. You're closer now.
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. We'll get that done next week then.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thanks for your support. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's a blessing to be able to support you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we do have a quorum, so we can start at 7 o'clock or whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, we will get this meeting started. So I will now call PRTC Commission meeting to order. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and related state of emergency, and as set forth in the Commission's Resolution 20-05-01 from the May 7th, 2020 meeting, we are meeting remotely again this month. The public access is being provided by live streaming the meeting on PRTC's YouTube channel. This information was on PRTC's website, Facebook page, and at the Transit Center, as well as being advertised in Inside Nova and the Freelance Star. We will follow the same meeting process as before. Please state your name when speaking. I will introduce each item, then ask for a motion and a second. I will repeat the names of who made the motion and second, and I will ask each jurisdiction if there are any comments or questions. And I will then ask Christine to call the roll. Commissioners who need to leave the meeting should verbally advise me prior to leaving so we can ensure we have a quorum and the time can be reflected in the meeting minutes. And with that, I will lead us in invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. If we can please close our eyes. Lord, thank you for bringing us to this moment once again. We ask that you just bless us as we continue to usher through within a pandemic, Lord. We ask that you just bless us to have each other within our hearts, Lord, that we may govern with empathy and that we may understand those who we serve. We thank you for the opportunity, and we just thank you for those within our transportation system, particularly our bus drivers and those that make everything run. We thank you for their service, and Lord, we just ask that they understand that we do appreciate them and that we're praying for their safety. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Christine, will you please call the roll?
Victor Angry, Andrea Bailey,
Present.
Kenny Bodie, Margaret Franklin,
Present.
Janine Lawson, Yesley Vega, Pete Canland, Maggie Hansford, Kalai Kandasamy,
Here.
Kim Short,
Present.
Benny Smith,
Here.
Ann Wheeler. Because we have several people from Prince William County, several of our regular voting members absent, all of our commissioners, Kalai Kandasamy, Kim Short, and Benny Smith, all those alternates will be voting alternates until we have the other commissioners join us, if they will be joining us this evening. I'm just going to randomly assign Kalai Kandasamy with Victor Angry, Kim Short with Kenny Bodie, and Benny Smith for Janine Lawson. So if the regular commissioner votes, that other non-voting alternate will be non-voting at that point.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. From Stafford County, Tanisha Allen.
Here.
And Cindy Shelton. Meg Bunke, Thomas Cohn. From City of Manassas, Pamela Sebeski,
Present.
Ralph Smith.
Present.
Because Pamela Sebeski is with us, Ralph Smith is serving as a non-voting alternate this evening. The City of Manassas Park, Jeanette Rischel.
Here.
Preston Banks, Alana Mensing, Daryl Moore.
Present.
Because Jeanette Rischel is with us, Daryl Moore is a non-voting alternate. From the city of Fredericksburg, Matthew Kelly
Here.
and Jason Graham. From Spotsylvania County, Deborah Frazier,
Here.
Gary Skinner,
Here.
Tim McLaughlin, and David Ross. And from DRPT, Jennifer Mitchell, Jennifer DeBrule, Todd Horsley,
Here.
and Steve Pittard. From the House of Delegates, Lee Carter, Elizabeth Guzman.
Preston.
And from the Virginia Senate, George Barker. Madam Chair, we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move into item 4, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. Supervisor Bailey.
Moved by Supervisor Bailey. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, this is Lawson. I'll second.
Seconded by Supervisor Lawson. Any questions from Prince William County? Stafford County? City of Manassas? Manassas Park? Fredericksburg?
No questions.
Spotsylvania?
None.
DRPT?
No.
House of Delegates? And the Virginia Senate? Okay, Christine, will you please call the roll?
Yes, and because Supervisor Lawson has joined us, I'm going to ask Benny Smith to switch roles and now be the substitute for Yesli Vega. Assuming that Ms. Vega hasn't joined us. Is that correct? Okay, we'll, excuse me?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Lawson?
thank you. Christine, I'm pretty certain that Supervisor Vega will not be joining us.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So we'll ask Benny Smith to serve as a voting member for Yesli Vega. Okay, so going back to our roll, Andrea Bailey,
Aye.
Margaret Franklin,
Aye.
Janine Lawson,
Aye.
Kalai Kandasamy,
Aye.
Kim Short,
Aye.
Benny Smith,
Aye.
Tanisha Allen,
Aye.
Pamela Sebeski,
Aye.
Jeanette Rischel,
Yes.
Matthew Kelly,
Yes.
Deborah Frazier,
Aye.
Gary Skinner,
Aye.
Todd Horsley,
Yes.
and Elizabeth Guzman. I'm sorry, I didn't hear a reply from Delegate Guzman.
Yay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, that motion is approved.
Okay, we'll now move into item 5, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved. Supervisor Bailey.
Second,
Move by-
Pam Sabeski.
Moved by Supervisor Bailey and seconded by Pamela Sebeski. Any questions from Prince William County? Stafford
question.
County? City of Manassas? Manassas Park? Fredericksburg?
No questions.
Spotsylvania?
None.
DRPT?
No.
And the General Assembly?
No.
Christine, will you please call the roll?
Andrea Bailey,
Aye.
Margaret Franklin,
Aye.
Janine Lawson,
Abstain.
Kalai Kandasamy,
Aye.
Kim Short,
Aye.
Benny Smith,
Aye.
Tanisha Allen,
Aye.
Pamela Sebeski,
Aye.
Jeanette Rischel,
Yes.
Matthew Kelly,
Yes.
Deborah Frazier,
Aye.
Gary Skinner,
Aye.
Todd Horsley,
Need to abstain, please.
and Elizabeth Guzman.
Aye.
Madam Chair, that resolution is approved.
Thank you. We'll now move into item 6 for the VRE Chief Executive time, and we'll turn it over to Mr. Dalton.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, commission members and others. You do have the DREC or your report in your package and the updated memo and some other items under 6.2. So just let me hit the highlights and some updates here. VRE continues to operate at a reduced service level plus schedule. Over the past month, I, along with other transit leaders in the region, have been in discussions related to our current response to COVID-19 with members of the new administration, including Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, Acting FTA Administrator Naraya Fernandez, and Acting FRA Administrator Amit Mose. In addition to VRE's efforts, I believe the region's transit providers are doing well to ensure a safe return of our riders. For ridership and for the we continue to about 1,000 average daily riders.
Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
if I can just interrupt you. Christine, I'm hearing some feedback.
So am I.
If we can make sure everyone is muted.
Okay.
Mr. Dalton, let's try that again.
Okay. So for ridership and on-time performance, for the month of February, we continue to see daily ridership of about approximately 1,000 average daily riders. And only a few days into March, we are starting to see daily ridership levels at levels that we saw prior to the holiday season at about, last fall at about 1,500 average daily riders. On-time performance for the month of February was 93% system-wide, and we had some weather-related delays in addition to some system congestion due to freight and Amtrak trains. The majority of VRE staff continues to work remotely. All of our business functions are fully operational as we continue to maintain a continuity of operations. That's the end of my report, Madam Chair.
Okay. Are there any questions from Prince William County?
No questions.
No question.
Stafford County?
No questions.
City of Manassas?
No questions.
Manassas Park?
No questions.
Fredericksburg?
No questions.
Spotsylvania?
No questions.
DRPT?
No questions.
And the General Assembly?
No questions.
Okay. And Mr. Dalton, it's my understanding there are no action items here.
That is correct, Madam Chair. Not tonight.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now move into item 7, presentations and information. I believe we have a short presentation regarding the I-395-95 commuter choice program. For that, I will turn it over to Mr. Ben Owens with Nvtc.
Great. Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Nice to be back with you again. After 3 relatively short but busy weeks for us, I'll provide a short update tonight on where we are with our commuter choice on the I-395-95 corridor round 2 program. In the last few weeks, we've completed our eligibility review of the applications we received for round 2 funding. So, as a bit of a recap, our round 2 call for projects covering funding in fiscal years 2022 and 23 closed on Friday, January 29th. We received a total of 18 applications from 8 applicants with a $26.2 million total funding request. Throughout February, we reviewed all of these for alignment with requirements of the Memorandum of Agreement with the Commonwealth that governs the program, most crucially around the project's ability to benefit toll payers of the 95 and 395 express lanes. But we also looked at projects in terms of consistency with adopted program policy as well. And we engaged with DRPT staff in this process to help verify that the proposed projects meet requirements of the MOA. So the schematic you see on the screen here shows the 13 eligible proposals with a total funding request of $21.9 million. Most of these are for bus services, almost all from Stafford County on north. Within the bus service proposals are continued funding of several OmniRide and Fairfax Connector service improvements that we funded under round 1 and that are operational now. Also, a few significant Dash and Fairfax Connector local bus service improvements in the northern portion of the corridor, and one new VRE feeder bus service in the Fredericksburg area. That project also includes minor improvements to an existing park and ride lot. There's one eligible transportation demand management proposal addressing van pools incentives to help rebuild that market post-COVID. 2 park and ride capital projects, one in Prince William County, one in Spotsylvania County. There were 4 ineligible applications. The biggest factor here was a new definition of allowable standalone transportation demand management projects that the commissions adopted in November. And that was really about ensuring that we can easily evaluate and report on the effectiveness of these projects, which has been kind of a challenge. These are typically kind of longer term efforts to provide information to commuters and incentivize use of alternate means of transportation besides driving alone. Given that they're kind of long term, it's hard to ascribe effects specifically to the campaign itself. So 3 of the proposals that we received for TDM efforts did not align with that new definition. The other proposal was for a piece of a project that has not yet received other funding for implementation, and that by itself wouldn't deliver benefits to toll payers. There were also 2 very similar applications actually from OmniRide for van pool incentives that we consolidated into a single project. So that's how we got from 18 down to 13. We do anticipate full funding of about $30 million for this 2-year program. In terms of the total funding requests, we are a bit undersubscribed. Our best take on the situation is that we are a commuter-focused program, and there's an emphasis on quick deliverability with projects we fund. Still kind of a soft market for commute trips, especially the longer haul types of services we've traditionally supported quite a bit. But our applicants, I do want to commend for thinking carefully and pragmatically about projects that make sense to advance at this time. I suspect we'll have some strong candidates despite the circumstances. The charts you see in front of you just kind of break down the overall funding request, a lot of it being for new and enhanced bus service projects. Many of those include capital elements. One thing we will be looking closely at is we have a program-wide cap that no more than half of our available program funds over a 5-year average may be allocated to transit operations. But just to emphasize, a number of these projects do include capital components too that wouldn't be subject to that. In terms of the Nvtc PRTC breakdown, a bit more of a total funding request among Nvtc jurisdictions and transit providers, but more eligible proposals among PRTC jurisdictions and transit providers. Next slide, please. So the focus for this month is going to be scoring those 13 applications per the process that the commissions adopted in November. We will be sharing draft scores with applicants late next week to ensure that we captured anticipated benefits of their projects accurately. We will be opening a 1-month fully online public comment period in mid-April. Also on April 22nd at 1 p.m., the Joint Commission Working Group, consisting of 3 commissioners from each of the 2 commissions, we'll be meeting to review technical evaluation results and kind of figuring out how to go about programming projects for funding subject to the public comments we receive. And the ultimate final step that we'll be working toward and that we're on track for at this point is adoption of a program of projects by the commissions and then the Commonwealth Transportation Board in June so that projects may begin implementation with the start of the new fiscal year, July 1st. So I will wrap up there and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Madam Chair, Gary Skinner.
I'm going to go around. Anyone from Prince William County? Stafford County? City of Manassas? Manassas Park? Spotsylvania? Fredericksburg?
No questions.
General Assembly?
No questions.
PRPT?
No questions.
Mr. Skinner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, Mr. Owens, just a quick question for you. On the very first slide, you showed a park and ride, I believe, in Spotsylvania, but your comment was they only extended down to Stafford, the projects.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I was referring to the various bus routes that we received applications for. But yes, there are two projects concerning Spotsylvania County, actually three. One is the park and ride, kind of at the bottom there. That's actually a facility at Massaponax that's mostly
Yes.
funded, and we would be filling in the remaining piece of funding for that.
Okay,
And there is the a Fred Transit feeder bus service from the Route 208 lot up to downtown Fredericksburg. And then the OmniRide van pool incentives I mentioned could potentially benefit commuters coming up from Spotsylvania County. Those would be incentives for parking costs as well as just defraying their general monthly expenses.
thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Owens, is there anything to add?
I think I'm good. I'll be back with you in May to brief you on how the technical evaluation shaked out and what the Joint Commission Working Group recommends as far as programming.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I have a question for him before he goes.
Okay, not sure who that is speaking. Can you state your name?
Kim Short.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Short?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, how are we advertising the public comment period so that we have the widest participation, widest opportunity for participation?
Yeah, we work through our social media channels on that. We will work with all of our applicants as well to try to get the word out about it. Has been kind of a social media, like geographically targeted type of thing. We will provide I expect we will hold at least one so-called virtual town hall meeting during the public comment period. That'll be streamed over YouTube, and interested parties will be able to learn about the projects, ask questions. We will have an online comment form as well, where people will be able to provide feedback on what they see as most deserving of funding through the program.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And then I'll just also add, obviously, we have jurisdiction, so, we can also take the responsibility of getting this information out to our constituents that may help propel involvement in this. So just want to kind of encourage that to our commissioners as well. With that, we will now move into item 9, Executive Director's time, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Schneider.
Madam Chair, I think we do have one item under public comment.
Public comment time? Yeah, my apologies. Christine, do we have any written public comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, one comment was submitted and I will read it to everyone now. I found your contact info on the OmniRide website and saw that passengers could reach out to you with any concerns prior to the upcoming meeting tomorrow. There has been some talk amongst riders that service cuts are coming and coming quickly, and I wanted to share my situation with you. I am a current daily passenger who takes OmniRide from the Portsmouth commuter lot in Manassas into DC. This bus has been a saving grace and was one of the biggest reasons I chose to move to Manassas last year, as I do not drive. In fact, I do not even have a driver's license. Because I knew your commuter buses existed, I felt comfortable in relocating to Manassas and knowing that I could still get to work every day with ease. You see, I am a very specialized rhinology and skull-based surgery nurse, taking care of patients with complex diseases and disorders of the nose, sinuses, and interior skull base. I am the only nurse with this specialization at our large academic medical center, if not in the entire Metro DC area. If it was not for your commuter buses, I would not be able to continue to commute and our patients would suffer. While I understand ridership is extremely down due to the current COVID-19 pandemic, please keep us essential workers in mind when you consider any service cuts. My colleague Faye is also CC'd on this email. She too is a healthcare professional here at our medical center who relies exclusively on your OmniRide service to get to work to take care of patients every day. While we are more than happy to change the location in the Manassas-Gainesville area where we catch the bus in the morning, we are asking that you consider keeping an early morning bus, 5 or 5:30 a.m., running into DC every day. In addition to ourselves, there are usually 3 to 5 other people that we see routinely on our routes that we know heavily rely on your commuter bus services. I personally would much rather have the daily fares increase a bit to have the service continue rather than be left with no or limited commuting options. We thank you in advance for making note of our concerns, and more importantly, our patients greatly thank you for always getting us into work safely every day. Best, Melissa Borofsky. Madam Chair, that is the only comment that was submitted.
Thank you. And actually, just a word of note, do we have contact information for those that may submit comments?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, now we'll move over into item 9, executive director's time, and I'll turn it over now to Dr. Schneider.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. A brief follow-up from last week's meeting. We provided a hopefully very useful Excel ridership viewing tool. It was something we'd been working on, and Supervisor Vega's request helped us get it into higher gear. As you know, we report monthly in your board packets with year-over-year trends, and I hope this gives you more of a 5,000-foot view without getting caught in the weeds. And of course, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. With us meeting just 3 weeks ago and key legislative items underway in DC, plus the General Assembly having wrapped up the budget, there's not a significant list of legislative items, but federally, a few things of note. The House and the Senate continue to work toward what is expected to be the final COVID-19 relief legislation. I'm sure you're hearing or seeing that all over the news right now. And there are a variety of items included in the proposal. However, Transit's $30.5 billion relief package remains mainly intact as some projects have been removed as the House and the Senate continue to work through resolution. We do continue to enforce our federal mask mandate, and we await vaccines for our transit workers. It remains a source of frustration among the workforce, but we are in regular contact with the health district and Prince William Emergency Services to get vaccines for our employees, and we continue to try to make progress there. 2 weeks ago, I met with Senator Warner along with other transportation leaders, including Rich Dalton of VRE, Kate Mattice of Nvtc, Secretary of Transportation Valentine, et cetera, to discuss the impacts that COVID has had on the workforce and our need for continued funding for readiness. One of our key concerns, and you just heard it in public comment, is there will come a point in time when the employer base asks employees to return on a consistent basis. And when that happens, we expect to see a sudden increased demand, and we must be ready. Without the funding to allow us to continue to have that operation, will be challenged and limited. And without the appropriate lead time, we might not be able to meet that demand and respond accordingly. So it's something we continue to watch. The General Assembly's key items included a statewide analysis of transit equity and modernization to be conducted by DRPT, as well as stabilized funding for transit. That was good this year in terms of all the budget concerns and constraints. Last year's legislation turned out to be well positioned to help see us through the COVID-19 scare in that area. And the Senate budget also approved amendments to allow for reduction or elimination of fares in urban and rural local services that have been impacted by COVID, and we'll be participating in that. In other news, OmniRide was a finalist for Prince William Chamber's Large Business of the Year award. We did not win. We congratulate Novant UVA Health Systems, a very deserving winner, especially in light of how they responded to the COVID-19 crisis. We will get our turn, no doubt. One thing I did want to mention specifically is transit access to COVID-19 vaccine sites is it already has been and will continue to be an issue. Our routes do service the Manassas Mall, which is a vaccine distribution site with the Prince William Health District. News reports that Walmart is slated to open a location in Eastern Prince William at the vacant Gander Mountain store in the Potomac Mills complex, which is very helpful as our routes serve that location as well. Anyone wanting to learn how transit can help them access a vaccine site should call us at 703-730-OMNI or visit our website and check out our route maps. We've already encouraged the health district to place locations directly on transit routes to assist with distribution, especially among minority and economically disadvantaged communities. Our customer service staff has already called several senior apartment complexes to remind that if they do have appointments for the vaccine, we can aid with navigating the system. Their response has been positive, and they've even identified that organizations such as CVS are coming to them to help do vaccine distribution. The team is ready to distribute any information necessary to assist the community and provide route details. Our local services remain fare-free so that we may continue to offer equity within those impacted communities. Over the next few weeks, I'll be presenting at a chamber presentation roundtable, speaking at an event for the Prince William Conservation Alliance to discuss the impacts of land use on transit, participating in the Virginia Transit Association's Equity and Diversity Statewide Working Group, and continuing to work on the National COVID-19 Response Committee and the Midsize Bus Operations Committee as we move into the next phase of planning for the next year. As always, the information items are attached at the back of your board packet, outlines our performance data. And before I pass things on to Barbara Murdoch for an update, I did want to mention we did have a successful Keolis Town Hall, which I'm sure she'll touch on, but also pay special attention to the details that she will share for our upcoming Transit Worker Appreciation Day. Ms. Murdoch?
Thank you, Dr. Snyder. Good evening, commissioners. And I do want to thank those of you who participated in our virtual town hall a couple of weeks ago. The OmniRide employees were very appreciative that you were there. This week, our bus operators are going through their second seniority bid pick. And it's going a lot smoother than the previous one. And that's due really to the hard work between the Prtc team and the Keolis team. Nationally, our frontline workers are being celebrated. March 18th is Bus Driver Appreciation Day. Locally, we've kind of changed it up and we're calling ours the Bus Operator and Technician Appreciation Day so that we can include our maintenance staff. And we will be celebrating all day on the 18th from 3:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. We're giving them grab and go lunches, breakfast, and I hope that many of you can participate. Come meet these amazing drivers and maintenance workers and shake their hands and kind of get to know them. I'll be sending out more information probably next week. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from Prince William County? Stafford County? City of Manassas?
No, thank you.
Manassas Park?
No, Madam Chair.
Spotsylvania?
No questions.
Fredericksburg?
No questions.
DRPT?
No questions.
General Assembly?
No questions.
No.
Okay. All right, Dr. Schneider or Ms. Murdoch, anything else to add there?
No, that's it for me.
Okay.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes. Is that Supervisor Bailey?
Yes, it is. Just really quick, sorry, I know you asked already, but for the appreciation from that Ms. Murdoch just mentioned, I'm sorry to mention now, can you just send us a little blurb on that so that we could support, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure thing. All right, moving on to item 10, it looks like our action item has been removed. I believe we were looking into a grant for Wills to Wellness, but it looks like after further review, we are not quite eligible for that particular grant. Dr. Schneider, did you want to add anything to that?
No, and the key this was a TPB grant, and the reason we acted so quickly to get it on the agenda is it required a board resolution for it, but so we put it on the agenda right when we learned the information. But key items for this is the trigger for us is that you're only eligible if it prevents your employees from losing jobs, and because this is a taxi-based program, voucher-based, it doesn't qualify for that. So that was kind of despite the other hurdles that there were, that was kind of the one that really took it out of contention. And we did speak with TPB to confirm that information. So this is not just our interpretation. that is a mutual understanding. So we withdrew the application to help those dollars go further and to save staff time and their energy as well.
Great. Okay, with that, we'll move now into chair's time. And just want to reiterate March 18th as National Transit Driver Appreciation Day. And as we're calling it here in our local area, Bus Operator and Technician Day. So I know Ms. Murdoch will be sending around some information. Hopefully we can see a few faces from the commission to show our appreciation for those that, again, they've been coming to work ever since the beginning of the pandemic. They've been doing additional services. Some of them are still on the routes, many of them, and they are an important part of kind of the system we have here to get people to and from work, the grocery store, the doctor. So we really do want to show them our appreciation, because it's been just as tough on them as it's been on other important groups. So please, we'll send out the information. If you can show your appreciation, that will be great. I just want to mention that, there are a few questions at the Prince William County Board of Supervisors meeting about what we can do to help with the vaccination process, getting people to and from their vaccination appointments. One thing I will say, and Dr. Schneider alluded to this, Gander Mountain is within a PRTC route. It's one of the routes that I used to take when going into the city. And so there's plenty of transportation going to and from that location. If you know people that are interested or have constituents that need to know more about that service, please let us know. In addition, as Dr. Schneider mentioned, we are doing the outreach necessary to those in those priority groups who have vaccination appointments to make sure they can get to and from those appointments. So just wanted to point that out. And then, we did do the town hall with some of our bus drivers and members of the union to talk about a myriad of things of concern. One of the things that I wanted to make clear about the vaccinations in the priority groups, those are decisions that were made at the state level. We would have hoped that our transportation workers would have been higher up in that priority group, and that's something that we can still hope that can change, and we hope that all of you are advocating for that. But just want to make it clear that that's something that was done at the state level. While that being said, we are hoping that as we continue to vaccinate people throughout our regions, that we can get vaccinations as quickly as possible to our transportation workers, particularly as we start to go back to work, our kids are starting to go back to school. So we want to make sure that those on the front line, I consider our transportation workers on the front line, we want to make sure that all of them are vaccinated. So please keep that in mind as you're talking to those in the General Assembly and those within the federal government. With that, I will turn it over, go into item 12, other business and commissioners' time. And what we will do, Christine, if you call the roll, and if you have something to add, you can take that opportunity to do so.
We'll start with Andrea Bailey.
Good evening to everyone, and no comments. Thank you very much.
And Janine Lawson.
I'm good, no comment.
Kalai Kandasamy.
No comments.
Kim Short.
No comments. Thank you very much.
Benny Smith.
No comment. Thank you.
Tanisha Allen.
No comments. Thank you.
Pamela Sabeski.
No comments. Thank you.
Ralph Smith.
Thank you. No comment.
Jeanette Rischel.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is staying well and looking forward to when we can meet again and be all together instead of virtually. So take care, everyone. Thank you.
Daryl Moore.
No comment. Thank you.
Matthew Kelly.
No comments.
Deborah Frazier.
No comments. Thank you.
Gary Skinner.
No comments.
Todd Horsley.
No comments.
Elizabeth Guzman.
No comments.
And George Barker, who joined us a little while ago.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick comments. We did provide us a substantial amount of additional funding in the budget for transit and for passenger rail. So there's going to be some developments coming along, we think, fairly soon related to the tracks that we have, the Norfolk Southern tracks that we have going out through Manassas and out to Broad Run, as well as a significant increase in funding for passenger rail service from DC to all the way to Roanoke, and extending that down into the Christiansburg area and potentially further after that. I think also I just wanted to touch on the letter that we had from the nurse who lives in Manassas and works in DC. I mean, that's it was I think a ringing endorsement of why we do what we do. And it helps the whole community, not just the individuals who happen to be on the buses there. We need to make sure that we convey to everybody from the public as well as to our riders and drivers and others that we are in this for the long haul, and hopefully we will be experiencing during this calendar year a significant return to ridership and growing back to where we were prior to the pandemic hitting. And I think we need to make sure that we're positioned well and can take advantage of that and can entice people back into riding to get into work and other types of things there. So I'm very optimistic about what we can do long term, and glad to be participating and working on that.
Madam Chair, that concludes the commissioner's time.
Okay, thank you. The last item is adjournment. I know it doesn't feel right because it's so early, but
Yeah,
I'll give you the rest of your night back. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Supervisor Bailey.
Madam Chair.
Second.
Second from Jeanette Rishel, Manassas Park.
Okay. Moved by Supervisor Bailey and seconded by Mayor Rishel. Christine, do we need to call the roll? Can we do without? Okay,
No,
without
we don't need to call the roll.
All right, well, thank you all so much.
Thank you. Incredibly short.